Welcome to The Jung and the Restless. I'm Zach.
I'm Olivia.
And I'm Victor. And this is the podcast where we all have a lot of anxiety.
True that.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I dreamt I had a soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, will that dream just go on for its own sake?
How many eggs does a chicken lay? Like what's their
Well, here's a fun fact that like a lot of them, they lay like an egg a day. So you're getting like 365 eggs a year theoretically, or maybe a little less than that. But in the wild, before we started breeding chickens, they would only ovulate and lay an egg once a year. So we've kind of turned them into egg-laying machines, and they have high rates of ovarian cancer because of it. It's pretty sad, actually. It's not so fun fact.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
But like most of what we think of as like crops or whatever, like all of that is the product of, tons of very intentional evolution too. Like all the fruit you eat and the vegetables you eat, most of that has been like genetically like manipulated to be what it is through like selective breeding. Nothing's natural.
Yeah, but those don't get ovarian cancer.
But what if they did? How, like, maybe we have the technology now finally to give apple trees cancer.
To make fruits and veggies.
Trees can kind of get cancer, can't they? Or it's tree cancer. It's not people cancer. But
what we need is to
they have their
genetically modify them so they feel pain, though.
Yeah, now we're talking.
That's the dream.
So there truly is no ethical consumption under capitalism. Yeah, how have you guys been? I feel like we haven't met in a minute.
How are we?
I mean,
really mulling that one over, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we're good, right? Are we fine? Did something bad happen? I don't know. You have a vibe. Are we not good?
No, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, and, chugging along.
Yeah.
We're doing a birth class. That's a thing we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you getting
pretty
good grades?
Yeah, so far. Not it's not too bad. Yeah, but it is kind of funny. Like I was telling a friend today, like, yeah, last night we were at birth class and it was just like 10 pregnant women with their asses in the air, like on all fours, and all of the men are like having to massage our like hips in like a group setting. So I mean that's not the whole class, but that is
for like
part of it.
Like prenatal yoga reasons? Is it like adjacent
for
to that?
like contraction, like for coping with contractions. There's like a lot of like things that you can do to make that more tolerable.
So it's a little more straightforward and medical.
Yeah, it's like pain management stuff.
Yeah, but it's just like funny. It's like
it's a funny
hands-on
image.
Practice. Yeah. How was it? How was your road trip?
It was good. I survived it. All the modes of transportation. I get really bad flight anxiety and highway anxiety, and neither of them really bothered me much this time.
That's great.
But yeah, I got to meet, a good chunk of her family. She got to meet the couple of mine that still live in Colorado.
Cool.
So big steps were made, and now she's here.
When did you guys get back?
Late Sunday night.
Late Sunday. Gotcha. Well, that's exciting. Yeah. So what was the first thing you did when you got back? Or like out in the world? What did you do? Where's the first place you went?
Before we even got home, we went and got dinner at a restaurant called Grain Cafe.
Grain Cafe.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a Mexican vegan place.
Nice. Is she vegan too?
No. But she's sweet. And will eat my food with me.
I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, I was very flexible on the vegan thing when I was in Colorado. That's part of my traveling, especially when you're like your girlfriend's mom that you just met is like buying dinner. It just makes life easier to not be so militant about it.
For sure.
and eat a little bit of cheese, take one for the team. But yeah, and she got a job offer.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's going to be fairly part-time. The range of hours I gave her is pretty, well, from somewhere between 10 and like 40.
Okay.
So
I hate when they do that.
Yeah, it sounds like a cool job though.
Okay, good.
It's definitely in the world that she wants to work, or in the vein. It's not totally purely a survival job,
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a huge relief. There was a lot of like little moments where we kept like doubting whether like we were doing things smartly. Like the tags on her vehicle were expired, and on Thursday we were like, maybe we should go to the DMV and not put it off till Friday. And then it turns out the DMV is closed on Friday, and there were all these holds on her driver's license plate because she had like unpaid tolls. And for half a second, it was looking like we weren't going to be able to get the tags on the car, which would be, not a good idea to drive across the country with expired tags. And then somehow it just came together. And then like right after that, the job called her and offered her a position. And it just feels like things are coming together.
Yeah. Take that as like a positive sign.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's really, really cool. And maybe that'll let you guys like jump into a new spot a little faster than you would have otherwise, and you guys can stretch your legs a little bit. Yeah,
we're excited to start actually looking for our own place. We have the money saved up. We just are waiting to get her job situation like fully nailed down so that when we apply to an apartment, we have a combined income that is accurate.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, I'm glad that everything went off without like a problem, and then like getting the job offer just as you're rolling into town is like, icing on the cake. And yeah, I don't know, it's got to feel weird, like you were looking forward to that, and like that was like the event that's going to happen for so long. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff on the horizon, but it's probably got to feel kind of surreal to be on the other end of that.
Yeah, there's all these little checkpoints. It feels good to have reached this one, but I mean, that's life, right? There's like that constant feeling of once I reach the next point, then I can relax.
Is that like I definitely do that, but like, are you supposed to do that? Are you
I think you're supposed to live in the moment.
That's what I keep
It doesn't
hearing.
feel right. I don't know.
Something about mindfulness. I don't know.
Yeah, like enjoying the journey or something. I don't know.
It's not the destination.
Do you ever, maybe this is just me, but like, do you ever like think to yourself, but then I'll be dead? And it's like a relief.
Kinda.
And then one day I get to die.
Yeah.
I feel that way in the morning a lot of the time when I have to wake up and I'm like, another one.
It's like an anxiety thing for me. It's like, but at least one day I'll be dead. Maybe that's just a me thing. I don't know.
Too real.
It's the last milestone.
That is the destination.
Yeah. Well, so do you have any good dreams on the road?
I feel like
any road dreams?
I feel like I've been dreaming a lot, but I did write one down in the airport on my way out. But I think the last episode was one of my dreams.
Yeah.
I know Shelby's
one, Olivia.
Shelby's been having a lot of dreams about snow, and in real life she hates snow, and in her snow dreams lately she like loves it. And so we were looking into that. It seems to resonate. The positively dreaming about snow may reflect a fresh start in some area of your life that happens all on its own, never believing that problem would fix on its own and discovering that it did. The emptiness of one situation ending, bringing a pleasant new beginning to another situation, a new feeling of security or a second chance because you have to, experiencing something that has come to an end because it had to. Alternatively, snow may symbolize spiritual peace, tranquility, or a new sense of clarity because something else took over. So that all really resonated with her, and moving to California.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds spot on.
Yeah, and I found it interesting that one of her dreams in particular involved the snow was like in a museum. So she like went into the museum and played around in the snow and made snow angels and had fun. And then
You had a snowy museum dream a while. We
I
didn't
did.
put it on the...
Yeah, I don't think that ever made it to the show.
Yeah.
I think that got cut out. But we decided that if we were just doing some dream interpretation on the road trip, that if the snow represents like one thing, like an unpleasant situation coming to an end in favor of a new one, that it being in a museum kind of feels like, it's like history now, because she didn't like living in Colorado and was filled with a lot of angst. Her job was very hard and it was a very difficult period of her life. But leaving it, she was finding all the things she was going to miss and, does have a very good relationship with her mom. It wasn't that she, didn't like living there because of her mom. It was just like the situation overall.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So now that is a chapter in the book, she can like appreciate it as someone who's moving on to the next chapter.
And snow is just literally something there's a lot of in Colorado and not a lot of in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's like
that also works.
Leaving the snow behind.
Yeah. I remember when I moved to Colorado, I thought I was coming from Maine though. So I got there being like, I thought there'd be more snow in Colorado.
I've always liked the idea of Maine in abstract because it just feels like it should just be like an alternate Washington, because it's like trees and lakes, right? But just on the other coast. But like everything I've heard about what Maine is actually like is that like it's just like a brutal nightmare.
Yeah. There's the part down east where all the postcards are shot, with the lighthouses and lobster traps.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest is just snow and trees.
Yeah. And
winding roads through the snow and trees where you hit moose because they're the same color as the night. It's yeah. It makes sense that Stephen King would be so inspired by it.
It is a good viewpoint to see the world as a dream.
My water broke. I just realized that you're going to be editing this one, Zach, I think. But
yeah.
I, off air, just said that my water broke, and it's because I spilled this water bottle all over me, in case you're confused later.
Yeah, in case I'm sitting there like, I thought that was an emergency.
Okay, so this was kind of a two-parter. The second, I only just remembered the first part today, so I'll try to include that briefly. But the second part is what was really interesting to me, I guess. So it starts off where Victor and I are kind of mucking around in a swamp, and it's kind of dark. It's daytime, but like there's really heavy tree cover, and it's like the vibe is very dark green. And I have like my DSLR camera with me, and I keep kind of like setting it down and trying to find like a safe place for it. And then at some point, a car drives up and parks, and I get like kind of bad vibes. And I look at Victor, and we're both like, okay, let's get out of here. And these men get out of the car, and they're kind of like they just immediately feel threatening, and like I kind of thought we could just like get out of their hair and it like wouldn't be a problem, but they very much had like a well, what do we have here kind of vibe, like they wanted to fuck with us. And I don't remember what happens at this point, but it like kind of changes, the scene changes a little bit, and Victor and I are in a hammock in the swamp in the same kind of space, and I hear like the rattle of a rattlesnake, and I like get out of the hammock and I tell him there's a rattlesnake, and I see it under the hammock, and I was kind of worried that it was going to come after him. And I started like backing up down this hill, and here's like the interesting part is I like started to fly away from this snake because it was kind of coming after me. And like, I don't know if like simultaneously I fell to the ground and remembered the conversations we've had here about like flying away from something in your dream and how like you don't actually have to be scared of it. You should go check it out. 'Cause it like made me lucid a little bit because I like remembered that we've talked about that and that like, well, I should face this scary thing in my dream. And so like the second that I remembered that, I like fell to the ground. It was like I lost my ability to fly entirely. And so I like fell to the ground, and the snake was kind of like right in my face, and it was a really big snake now. And I can't remember if I might have like kissed the snake or I'm not sure if I kissed it or if I just like was like caressing the snake, but it was like I had a friendly moment with the snake. And it was not threatening anymore once I like
somewhere from friendly to very friendly.
Yeah, essentially. It was like, I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't making out with it. It was just like a peck, you know.
Like you would kiss your cat.
Yeah, exactly. It was like I made peace with the snake. And that was the dream.
I felt like there were a lot of symbols there.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you feel like getting into the symbolism, or do you want to however you pronounce it?
I was giving him shit
Yeah.
for because people, a few people have corrected us that it is Gestalt and not Gestalt. But
Gestalt. Did I get it? Gestalt.
I don't know.
Gestalt.
I heard Gestalt. Maybe
Gestalt.
I'm wrong. Maybe it's Gestalt. But it is a hard G.
Gestalt. All right. Anyway, do you want to do that, or do you want symbols, or what do you feel like? Your stomach okay? Or
Could you hear that? The ball.
No.
Can you hear that?
you can't hear that?
No.
I wonder if it's getting picked up. On
Oh,
our
it's
mics.
because of Zoom.
Oh, Zoom is blocking
Yeah,
it out. It's
Zoom's
probably
blocking
in our
it out.
recording though.
Yeah, it's definitely in our recording.
Yeah.
What, the
it sounds
balls
like a
making
fart.
this up? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the ball, guys.
Like, if it was a fart, you would know, because farting on an exercise ball makes like a cool laser sound. It's like,
I gotta try that.
you make sure to mic it up if you do.
Not in this small room.
Victor will survive.
Yeah, we could get into symbols. Like if we were gonna gestalt something, it would be the snake. But
Or do you have any
find,
like immediate thoughts you want to get into first?
I mean, it seems like a relationship dream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it seemed like at various points there were like threats to us as a unit or to Victor. Like the men were like a threat to us, and then the snake was coming after Victor.
Right.
Yeah, I think something that's come up in a couple of dreams that like an interpretation that we've landed on at least a couple of times is like the pregnancy and having a baby is like maybe disruptive to our relationship, and there's like an anxiety that's going to make things, you know, worse, like that our relationship will not stay as good as it is because things are changing.
Right. You've also talked
Does that
about,
make sense?
you've also talked about the pregnancy inspiring like innate sort of protectiveness of your partner, because like
Oh yeah, didn't I have another one?
because you really need your
Yeah, you did.
another cheating dream.
She
What was
woke up
it?
mad at me again. It was that I like said I was moving to Idaho,
Oh yeah.
and you were like, please don't. And then I was like, I have to. And here's the list of reasons why I don't like you and have to move to Idaho now.
It has nothing to do with Idaho. It has everything to do with you. Idaho.
Yeah.
But it's a similar thing, right? Because like, I mean, whether he's leaving to Idaho because he doesn't like you anymore or he's dead via snake bite. I mean, it's a similar anxiety. Losing Victor seems to fall in that same, or it could fall in that same vein of dreams.
Is there a rattlesnake specifically?
There is, yeah.
Should
we start there?
Yeah, I'd like to hear the rattlesnake entry.
Okay. I think I have a couple other entries I think are interesting too. I'm really curious what the swamp is because I feel like that's come up a few times. Okay. Rattlesnake. To dream of a rattlesnake represents people or situations that warn you about unpleasant consequences if you don't cooperate. Obvious warning signs or open hostility. Feelings about there being potential for a serious problem in your waking life. Alternatively, a rattlesnake could also represent your attempt to threaten someone else with an undesirable course of action if they continue doing something you don't like. Warning someone else that they are going to pay dearly if they're disrespecting you or choose to avoid listening to you. Then there's dream of being bitten by a rattlesnake. Dream of only a rattlesnake tail with no body.
Yeah, that brought up a couple of things. Like one being, hang on. Oh, like the first thing that came up was like when it said people or situations that warn you about unpleasant consequences if you don't cooperate. Like when you're pregnant, a lot of people love to just like tell you how like give you warnings and like tell you like, yeah, your life is over and you're never going to sleep again. And
Right.
like, make sure you do this and make sure you do that. And it's really annoying, actually. I don't like it.
No, it sounds
It's not helpful. It's super not helpful, honestly, because obviously I know that sleep is going to be a thing. That's not new information.
No.
But then the other
It's kind of the only
was-
thing most people know about parenthood.
Right. No, I got this message from somebody that I like barely know that was like, they were like, congratulations. And here's all of the things that nobody tells you about. And they proceeded to list like really terrible things that were like clearly personal to them. Like they were like, they literally said, it's going to be really hard to watch your husband love another person more than you. And they were like, your body will be terrible to you. And I'm like, there was no but. There was no like, but it'll be super rewarding or like whatever.
They're just
were
trauma
like,
dumping on you.
Yeah. And it's like, I get it. Like, I'm sorry that sucked for you, but I don't really need that right now. Anyway, that was what that first part reminded me of. And then there was a part in there, it says warning someone else that they're going to pay dearly if they disrespect you or choose to avoid listening to you. And like, that brings up again, like the thing of that I've talked about of like, I'm like working on setting boundaries with like, particularly with like close family who are going to want to like be closer than I'm going to be comfortable with, like right when there's a baby around,
Right. Like physically closer.
Yeah. And we've already talked to them and like let them know that like we're not going to be having visitors for a while. But like I just know that that's going to be like, so when can we come over? And
You're worried they're going to take it personally?
no, I'm like where it says like warning someone that they're going to pay dearly if they disrespect you or choose to avoid listening to you. Like to me, it feels like the more that boundary is pushed, the less I'm going to like want to invite people in, you know? Like I'm really going to want space. And like if they're going to be pushy about it, or if they do take it personally and start like bugging us about it, like to me that like I know that I'm going to just push back even more and like that's not going to make me want to let them come in, you know? So I don't know if that's necessarily what this dream is about, but those were the two things that came up for me. Yeah.
That is interesting about a rattlesnake specifically. Because as you were talking about the snake, I was just thinking of snakes. I immediately, thought of the Garden of Eden and like whatever else snakes mean, underhandedness, skeeviness, like the things like snakes culturally represent. But
Right.
Rattlesnake specifically does have that unique, which I always found like fascinating from an evolutionary standpoint. Why do they warn
Yeah.
everybody around them? I guess they're not looking for a fight. They're just telling you that, hey, don't.
I think it's because they could be prey, like they don't want a hawk coming after them or whatever.
So they like warn it with a.
Or I guess that doesn't make sense, but I think that they probably are pretty vulnerable to being like stepped on and like trampled.
Right, because they don't want to bite you. They're just letting you know that they're over here in
and
the
I
bush.
could bite
you.
Yeah, most things in nature don't like want to fight unless they're hunting. Like the rattlesnake doesn't want to bite you. It just wants to be left alone.
Yeah.
But that does seem like a very unique characteristic. The rattle.
The warning. Yeah. And that was what that first part was a warning. And then as you were saying that, I remember that like by the end of that dream where I was like face to face with the snake, it looked more like a classic like serpent. Like it was like kind of a smooth, dark colored, maybe dark green or black, probably dark green, I think. It didn't look like a rattlesnake at the end.
We could look into. I remember dark green having some specific symbolism. It seems like it came up a lot.
Thing. It's like,
yeah, it is a negative.
Do you think this moment of friendliness with the snake has anything to do with like familiarity? Like if you were relating to the rattle, the warning part of it, as sounds like, you reinforcing your boundaries. It's like you're the rattlesnake. So I don't know. Do you think kissing on the forehead or whatever is like indicative of you relating to the snake in any way, or am I just inferring some things?
I'm not really connecting with this being about what I just said it might be about. Like those two things that came up from the rattlesnake entry, I'm not sure that they actually connect to this dream for me very much.
Okay. They're just tangential thoughts.
They like connect to my life, but like I'm not feeling like that's quite on point, I guess.
I think the warning symbolism probably, if I had to guess, that's probably what's relevant here, is like you are seeing something as a warning of some problem that you're anxious about.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the dark green entry. To dream of dark green represents jealousy, greed, arrogance, materialism, or selfishness. Thinking of yourself in a negative way. Total preoccupation with your own pleasure, personal gain, or arrogance. A situation in waking life where you have no concern for other people's feelings or well-being. Not wanting to share with other people. Powerful fears of losing or thoughts of suicide. Dark green can also reflect growth that you feel is happening in the wrong direction. Slow progress, feeling prevented from finding a healthy outlet. And that, to me, seems like maybe it plays on some of the boundary stuff that you've been dealing with, of like maybe like guilt over putting up boundaries, or like anxiety that like you're doing it the wrong way or something.
Yes. No, that like totally, that's exactly what I was thinking when you were reading that. Cause it's like, and I think I've like expressed it on the pod too, where I'm like, I like have very strong feelings about like, I don't want people in my space. Like, I'm going to be strong about this. And like, I don't care who's upset. They can fuck off. Like, I've very much like had that vibe to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that is coming from a place of like gassing myself up to like disappoint my family.
So you do think maybe this dream is about that?
Maybe. Yes, maybe. But
it doesn't like feel like it yet, but
we'll
like
see.
Intellectually the pieces are coming together. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
But I guess what I'm getting at is like I feel like I've expressed it to you guys in a way that like is where I want to be with it. Like I want to not care when people are like upset with my decisions, and like I want to be in a place where I set my boundary and that feels like a good enough reason for me to carry on doing what I'm doing, and like other people's feelings about it are their problem, because I know intellectually that is the healthy way to be, like when you're talking about things especially that are like so crucial and important and like personal, like us starting a family. Like that is very much our time that nobody else is entitled to. And I believe that intellectually.
Right.
But it is gonna fuck with me when people are upset about it. And so like I do have like guilt about it. I do feel like, well, like there's a part of me that's like, wow, you're just being so selfish, like not letting people come over, or like not including them in this moment, you know. And that's, I think, the part of me that yeah, like I don't think that that's coming from a healthy place. I think that like I need to feel like my boundary is good enough, I guess.
Which easier said than done.
Right.
For sure.
Well, especially like, I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know. There's like, it goes way back, you know. It's not like this hasn't come up before. Like, but there's a part of me that feels responsible for like making other people happy, or for like not upsetting people, or that like their wants are more important than mine. And so it's like coming to a place where like this feels super important. Like this feels like not the place to make that compromise for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think I could. Like I really feel like after I've given birth to a person, like there is no part of me that is like okay with compromising on this. And so like I'm kind of forced to face this thing, kind of like I was forced to face that snake, huh?
You kind of weren't forced to face it. You started flying away, and then something in you decided to come back to Earth. Like
that's true.
You had an out, I guess.
It didn't feel like it. I mean, I think like it felt like I couldn't fly. Like my ability to fly like stopped, and that's never happened before. Like in a dream, I usually like once I fly, I'm good.
You did make it sound like you became conscientious. Sounds like you became gestalt of the idea that you shouldn't run from things, or that you have to, if you have the impulse to fly away, that maybe you should confront them. Like you said, you became semi-lucid, which, you know, possibly reflects this self-awareness that you have. I was going to say, I feel like it's really important that you do have this like ability to apply what's happened to you retrospectively, or not what's happened to you, but like the way you've been in the past with people pleasing or whatever, and apply it in a prescient way to what's going to happen. Because what I just heard from you was like, this is what I need to do, and here's how I'm going to react when it doesn't, you know, when people don't respect these boundaries, or they push against them. I know that I'm going to react in this less than ideal way, because that's what's happened in the past.
Yeah, I guess it also just feels like this is like where I draw the line. Like it feels like in the past I have kind of like given in and bent to that pressure, and that this is a particular thing that there's no fucking way I'm going to like compromise on it. I just like, I know that I'm not going to. And so I'm like, it feels like I'm kind of forced to like deal with this boundaries setting thing, because that is how uncomfortable it makes me to compromise in this area. Like there's not a part of me that's willing to do it for other people's comfort.
I think because you said it doesn't feel like that necessarily is what resonates as the meaning of the dream, though. Maybe we keep digging a little bit.
Yeah.
And come back to this if it continues to pop up as like the theme and other symbols or whatever. I want to read about swamps. To dream of a swamp represents issues or situations that feel stagnated or impossible to escape. There may be something in your life that makes you feel trapped or in over your head. Unbearable feelings of never getting to make progress, that you are permanently stuck. Feeling stuck in situations you don't like. Feeling stuck in a job you don't like. Difficulty with getting through a problem that feels like it won't ever let go. the unbearableness of wondering if you are ever going to get through a problem while you keep trying your best anyway. Alternatively, a swamp may reflect a risky problem that feels like you will never get away from it if you get too involved with it. Feeling stupid for having gotten involved with a problem that is hopeless. Was it a bog? There's a bog entry.
I mean, is that different?
Isn't that just a Scottish swamp?
A bog has peat moss.
Who's Pete Moss?
Strangers. To dream of people that you've never seen before represent thoughts, feelings, or situations that you've never experienced before. Strangers may also reflect inability to confidently trust a person or situation. To dream of being chased by a stranger may reflect your attempt to avoid something you don't trust. And there's a subsection on people. Okay, so swamp is being stuck in problems that you don't see going away or have been stuck in for a long time, or both. And we've got the rattlesnake, which is like a big warning about a problem that you see coming. And
Hammock.
we've got dark green, which is like feelings about maybe like selfishness or feeling selfish and or feeling like you're making slow progress on changing or growing. So that feels like kind of connected to the swamp.
Yeah.
Okay. Hammock. To dream of a hammock represents a leisurely or carefree attitude with a situation. You may be totally satisfied that everything is in order. It may reflect feelings that all hard work or difficulties are over. You don't feel the need to do anything else.
It's just interesting that like Victor has all these dreams, and like in real life you like have problems with relaxing. Like it's a thing.
I don't know what you mean.
That's like a thing for you. And like in this dream you were in the hammock. We were in the hammock together. And then you were in the hammock and you didn't, I don't think you got out of the hammock ever. Like I got out, there was a rattlesnake under you. I was worried it was coming after you. I warned you about it and you did not seem to care about the rattlesnake.
Well, so I have had a like less anxious approach to like all like planning things related to the oncoming baby. For some reason I've been pretty chill about it. I haven't hit a place where I'm like obsessively preparing yet. And Olivia's been there for a little while, so that could be what that is like we're chilling and I'm chilling in the hammock and you're like there's danger and I'm like unfazed by it.
That does feel like you hear people say like when you're pregnant, you like become a parent right away. And then like when you're the partner though, like you kind of, your parental stuff kind of kicks in more when the baby comes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I can literally like feel the baby moving around in there. It's weird. And like my whole, everything is changing already. And like, it makes sense that, that like, the partner would be less preoccupied with that until it's like an immediate thing that's right there and that's tangible for you, you know?
Like you can intellectually know that you're a father. I mean, the royal you.
And me specifically.
And you specifically.
Yeah, go on.
You can like intellectually understand your father, but it probably hits on a whole different level once you are holding the baby.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But so, I mean, that's what that makes me think of as like, if it's a pregnancy dream, it's like you have all of this anxiety about how our life is changing related to pregnancy. And you feel like there's a big blaring, like, look out, things are gonna, like, bad stuff is coming your way. And I seem maybe a little checked out of it, or like you are concerned about how it's going to affect me, which is sort of what we'd already talked about, which is like anxiety that all of this together is going to negatively affect our relationship. But then also maybe like that itself could just be a symptom of fear that like becoming a parent is going to like fuck up your life in some way, you know, like unrelated to me. Like I could just like if our relationship started to go south or something, that can just be like one small part of a bigger ingredient or like a bigger, structure of ways in which life could get worse,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. It makes sense that this would be about like baby anxiety and like as it pertains to our relationship.
Were you pregnant in the dream?
No, and I am like pregnant in a lot of dreams.
Interesting.
That was my follow-up question.
Ask.
I was going to ask, when you're pregnant, are you in your dreams, or do you tend to be?
Sometimes, not all the time, but like sometimes that's a factor.
Then is it trippy to wake up and be pregnant when if you're not in the if you're not in the dream and then you wake up and you're like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had that experience yet. That's funny though, because I feel like I have that experience a lot of the time. Like if I cut my hair in a dream, I always wake up. I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes I'm pregnant, sometimes I'm not. What's under the snake entry? Like the generic snake entry.
Let's find out. All right, snakes. To dream of a poisonous snake represents feelings about corruption or contamination. Snakes in a dream also tend to reflect a person's fear of total failure or serious losses. Feelings about a person or problem totally, permanently ruining you. A dangerous or tricky problem you want to avoid. Areas of your life that spoil everything associated with them. People that can't be trusted or that you feel are dangerous to not avoid. A snake could also reflect your own lack of integrity or deceptive behavior. Noticing yourself being an evil asshole. A snake may also...
Does it say that?
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, it says, quote, evil asshole.
Yeah, I remember that from your Batman of
Oh, yeah.
dream.
A snake may also represent a bad influence or a person that you don't like. A person with no family values. Often, snakes point to situations that are difficult to resist, morally troublesome, or have traps that you wish to avoid. Snakes may also reflect bad habits, people, or situations that sour your mood, spirits, or good intentions. An addiction that is difficult to resist. And then there's being bitten. There's dream of fear of being bitten by a snake represents your fear of losing something important or a fear of total failure. You may fear losing power, control, safety, or your integrity. What was the color of the snake?
I would say it was dark green.
Right, like the entry we read.
A dark green snake represents a corrupting influence that is selfish, arrogant, or greedy. Selfish thoughts or habits that undermine other more positive areas of your life. A strong need to put yourself first or powerful insecurities that derail a genuine endeavor. Selfishness that corrupts all else. A fear of total failure due to someone else's selfishness.
I wonder if like...
Wait, sorry, one more entry.
Okay.
Females often dream of snakes when they fear sex, getting pregnant, or losing their virginity.
That tracks. That's very Garden of Eden.
Huh?
That's a lot of what was in there is what I was trying to communicate with my first impression of just like the cultural idea of a snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like back to like the people pleasing stuff and like feeling like a selfish, arrogant, greedy, evil asshole. Like in the dream, I broke from my fear of that, I guess, and like confronted that and had like a friendly moment with that snake, I guess. And like in the dream, what it felt like was like, oh, the snake was actually not bad after all. Like it wasn't gonna hurt me. So like maybe that is like me seeing that part of myself in two different lights. Like one of like, oh, you're such an asshole. You're being so selfish for setting these boundaries or whatever it is.
Right. That's the people pleasing
And
part.
then like, right. And then like when I like am face to face with that and actually like looking at it clearly, it wasn't that, you know, it wasn't actually evil or it wasn't going to hurt me.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say earlier, I think, is that there does seem to be some it feels significant to me, the part where you're interfacing with the snake in a friendly, amicable way, as if it were like a component of you, as everything in your dream is.
Yeah, it was very much like I realized that it wasn't what I thought it was. That's what that moment felt like.
So now that we've gone through some of these entries, are you leaning more towards the interpretation of it as like being about baby anxiety, or more about your like boundary anxiety?
Those feel really tied together for me. Well, and also like I have a concern that my like preoccupation with this like familial stuff that I have, that this like boundary stuff and like just like other complicated stuff between me and my family that I'm like working through, like my primary concern with all of that is how it's going to affect our kid, and like a desire to work through it. And like there's stuff about feeling stuck and like being progress being slower than I'd like it to be, and like that really resonates because there's a part of me that's like, I gotta just get it done. I gotta be like I've gotta like be a self-actualized like enlightened person to be able to be like a role model for this like new person that we're bringing into the world, which I know intellectually is not realistic or like
it's a lot of pressure
and
putting on yourself.
Yeah, and it's like straight up stupid. Like nobody is perfect.
You're close.
I have to figure out everything.
Just close. Couple days, you'll nail it.
Every time I go to therapy, Victor is like, "Bye, baby. I hope they fix you."
You gotta be careful though. If you achieve like complete enlightenment, you'll just like evaporate into a beam of light, and then the kid won't have a mom at all.
I know, and I worry about that constantly.
Well, that's enough attachment to keep you here on Earth, then.
Yeah.
And it does make sense. Like, I don't know, like how I guess the component to touch on is like that, like you were a part of this dream, Victor, and like I guess maybe there's a part of me that's like concerned about how my hangups and like how I'm absorbed in all of this stuff is going to like impact you, or like maybe like that could be a threat to our relationship. So I don't know, that's probably a component here.
It's cool. I'm gonna be totally checked out, so you can do whatever you want.
Just fucking whatever. But do you think that is, I mean, intellectually that makes sense, but like, do you think you can also tie that to what we were talking about earlier with the innate sort of primate instinct to worry about your partner when you need them more than ever?
Sure, totally. I mean, that's been like a huge theme in my dreams lately. But like it also does feel like it's probably more about like how my stuff, my like baggage it will like potentially affect our relationship, probably like especially as we move into like the baby actually being here, you know. Yep.
Yeah.
That all made sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And those are all like, it makes sense to be worried about like all of the changes that are going to come from this. And like you have been wrestling with like ways in which you want to change yourself to be better prepared for, you know, who we're going to have to be good parents, you know? I mean, things are gonna change, but I don't think they're necessarily gonna change for the worse, right? Like I do think we have a pretty good handle on stuff, and yeah, we're gonna muddle our way through the boundary stuff and the baby stuff and the ways in which they overlap just fine. We're gonna be okay. I think you know that.
Yeah, I do. And it's something we've talked about a little bit. And like, again, I think this is just like a product of where I'm at because I am the pregnant person here, is like me feeling like I'm really, really absorbed in like baby. How do you take care of a baby? What do you do when this happens? Like deep research mode, and like that's like pretty much all I can think about, and for the last 5 months, and that like you are not quite in that place right now, which is fine and probably pretty typical, and that like there's been times where like for me like that has come up as like me being worried that like I'll be the keeper of information or whatever, or that like the like responsibility is going to come down on me to like know certain things. I'm just thinking about like the hammock picture, and that like maybe that's like a component there, but like ultimately that like where that has left me is like I'm in this like heightened place of like concern and anxiety when like I don't think that that's actually productive. Like I have a lot of like misplaced I don't know if it's misplaced. I don't know that it's like invalid for me to be like anxious or whatever, but like it's really weird to be in a place where it's like everything is going to change in like, and there's like a clock countdown to it. Like we know when it's going to happen, and like everything's going to get turned upside down. And like, obviously I'm going to like be, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm worried about it. I'm like a little worried about it, you know? So.
Yeah, that's valid.
And I'm not like totally checked out of baby stuff.
I know you're not. I'm expressing that like that has come up for me because I'm so deep in it, and I could never expect you to be as deep in it as I am, because I'm literally like wired to only think about it right now. That's and that's just where I'm at. So like,
yeah,
I'm just saying that this dream could be a reflection of that.
I think there is something to like us being wired a little differently, and I don't know if there's anything biological to it. I think it's probably more cultural, but like when we first found out you were pregnant, your immediate like anxieties were like the specifics of care for the baby.
Yeah.
And my like where my mind leapt to, and kind of where I'm still at, even though I'm shifting and everything, but like what it triggered in me was like everything around the baby. How do I make the environment around the baby like safe and secure and good for like raising a child, which plays into like you know, like how we support ourselves as a little, you know, unit or whatever, and that kind of stuff was what it brought up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously like I am interested and invested in the specifics of taking care of the baby. It's just not like what got triggered in me in a primal level quite yet. It was more like, oh, how do I make sure like the den is secure or like whatever.
Provider stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Like,
I don't know.
That all makes perfect sense. And it also kind of makes sense that it like put us in like different places, which inherently feels like a little bit like a threat to the security of our relationship, like on a primal level, you know, like that we're just in different headspaces about it a little bit. And again, this is not like an actual concern about our relationship. It's just like on a gut level, there's something in me that's like, where things are changing. We're in different places, you know,
but ultimately complementary places, which is what, I don't know. I don't know if it's biological or cultural, but it does seem to be by some sort of design to like have all of the bases covered.
Right.
Because the way I understand my own upbringing is my mom fed me and taught me words while my dad taped styrofoam to the edges of coffee tables and made sure I didn't like ride my bike into the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that like yeah, like parenting it does seem like that parents tend to take on different aspects and complementary aspects. Like obviously in an ideal situation where both partners are participating, like it seems like that's how that often works out. And I think that also like I don't know, I'm just like anxious about everything changing, I think.
It's not that different than like how we handle other parts of our lives, right? Where like I have my stuff that I'm interested in, or like my skill set and the stuff that catches my attention, and you've got yours, and like I am the person that takes care of XYZ, you do like ABC, and like we have we're not doing the same things necessarily. Some things we are doing the same thing, but then a lot of the time we're doing different things, but together we're taking care of things, right?
Yeah.
The baby will probably work out similarly. There's some stuff we're both going to do, and then there's some stuff that's like stuff that you do, some stuff that's stuff that I do, and together the baby will be good.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're trying to get out of changing diapers.
Oh, I don't plan to be home for that. I'm gonna dip out for 6 months? Did I say 6 months? Got a big trip planned.
He's taking 6 months paternity leave and going on vacation.
Yes. Yeah.
Or you could just like take up smoke.
Soul cleanse.
You just take up smoking, and every time the baby shits, you got to light up. Got to step outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what we've talked about is the early days. I'm going to be doing a lot of changing while you do a lot of feeding. That's going to be like the initial way things are going to be organized.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the classic, I cook dinner, you do the dishes. Kind of division of labor.
That kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be just like the horse. You feed them and I shovel their shit.
That's it. The baby's just another horse. Just look at it that way.
Another horse. Just a more expensive horse.
Tiny little fleshy horse.
I do think though, like what I'm trying to get at is that like I think this dream feels like it's not that my anxiety is misplaced, but it's just the fact that like there's so much time to like contemplate this impending big change that it like obviously brings up a lot of like things for me to think about and research and be concerned over. And like, there's a part of me that's like, well, if I can just learn everything that there is to learn about taking care of a baby and just have all of that information stored in my brain, then like, it won't be so bad. But I know that it's like, in reality, it's like, it's probably not going to be like a horror story, you know? It's not going to be like as, I don't know. It's not that I think it's going to be bad, but it's like not all of the things that I could possibly worry about are going to all happen at once. It's going to be like one day at a time. And once we're doing it, I think it's going to be like fine. And I'm just like misplacing all of this energy because I don't have the baby to like take care of yet. And so I'm like trying to put all of that energy somewhere, and I'm putting it into worrying.
And thank God you're worrying. Where would we be if you weren't worrying?
Chilling in a hammock, probably.
I do think it's interesting that like we tend to have like totally opposite complementary triggers for anxiety. Like this reminds me of when we went on our honeymoon, and like like for once in our entire time being together, I was like, this is fine. This is chill. I don't have to have anything to worry about. And you were like, how, like, where do we go? What do we do? How do we make sure that we have the best time possible? We only have so much time in this place. We need to make sure that we do everything we need to do. And this feels like that, where like you are anxious in the way I'm usually anxious. And I am like, I feel like we're going to figure it out. We got this. It'll be good.
I read recently that like if you're a person who, or I think actually I saw like a TikTok on it or something. Someone was talking about like if you put like a ton of weight on little decisions, and like you think like you have to make the perfect decision for like where you go to eat or whatever, that like that's like a trauma response or something.
I thought you were going to say you die like 5 years earlier.
Oh, no, yeah, that probably too. It's like, or it's like a grasp for control to like you think that you can like make your life good by like picking the right things or anyway.
That makes sense. I also think if you tend to be an anxious person, like chemically, like you just have too much adrenaline or whatever coursing through your brain, at least in my experience as a highly anxious person, you tend to be surprisingly calm when it comes to like big things. Like you'll freak the fuck out internally on a day-to-day basis over like little things, but then there's an eerie calm that comes over you when there's like a big thing, almost like your fight or flight part of your brain has been like working out at the gym. It's been preparing for this. And
yeah, I feel like that's where I'm at. And then Olivia has like just evolutionarily has been like programmed to have like a panic reaction right now. Like you really wanted to like nest aggressively last weekend. You were like, we need to get rid of all of our stuff. Everything needs to go. We need a clear, clean space for the baby. And like we were toiling away all weekend trying to clean up.
Yeah. But like, again, it is kind of like what you're saying, Zach. Like when I'm actually faced with an immediate thing, it's like, whatever, like I can handle this. It's like the little things are like not usually time sensitive or pressing or that important. So it's like, I can afford to like worry about this.
Yeah.
Like I literally have the time to do that. And like, but when there's actually an immediate problem, like you got to take the dog to the vet or like whatever, like something's happened and you need to act. Like I'm not usually worried in those situations. I'm usually just like taking care of business.
Yeah, exactly. That's I mentioned like my highway anxiety earlier. Like I get worked up about having to be in the car going over 70 miles per hour. Like there's something about that is scary to me. But it's all chemical. It's just there's something about the speed and the claustrophobia of the car that freaks me out. And then I think that is like purely a physical response to the unnatural feeling situation or the extreme feeling situation. And that causes me to run through all these like worst case scenarios because I have to find a retroactive reason to justify the anxiety. So I start thinking, what if the car breaks down? What if we get in a car accident? What if we run out of money? And the thing is, I've been in all of those situations on road trips and otherwise, and every time it's been fine. And I didn't panic when those things happened. Not even in car accidents. I found myself surprisingly calm and just going through the steps of like, well, this is what you do. You call AAA, make sure everyone's okay. You walk to the, wherever you got to be safe. And I just do the things without freaking out nearly as much as I did leading up to just getting in the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like my pregnancy is just 9 months of me leading up to getting in the car.
And once you get in the car, you'll be relatively fine. And then if there's, if you run out of gas or the car breaks down, you'll deal with it calmly and logically.
The things I have like latched onto as far as baby anxiety are all about like bodily harm, like I'm like all stressed out about like you napping with the baby or either of us sleeping with the baby. I'm like, someone's going to roll over or the baby's going to like get like stuck or smothered or something. Like
you're not allowed to walk on the stairs with the baby.
Yeah, right before we came over here, I was like, I'm going to move my desk downstairs and we're working in the living room because I don't want us going up and down those stairs all day with a baby. Because someone's going to kill themselves and the baby, and I don't want to deal with it.
See, I feel like
it's that kind of stuff.
And I don't want to deal with it.
I feel like that's a male thing. I feel like that is like, earlier I said I don't know if it's cultural or biological, but I think I lean toward it being biological because that's how my dad was. And I'm not even like close to being a parent, but like when I see little kids out in public, I was standing in line at the grocery store behind somebody a while back and they had their kid on their shoulders and the kid started to lean too far back and I thought it was going to fall off and I just instinctively like shot a hand up and then I was had to be like, act like you're stretching, don't.
Yeah, they talk about like like a mom's super strength and like lifting cars and stuff. And then they talk about like dad's reflexes, like getting across the room in like half a second to catch a falling baby.
Oh man, I hope I got the dad reflexes.
Better get nimble.
Yeah, I guess that's why I'm stretching. I'm doing more stretching now. Yeah, I do subscribe to the idea of like there's the idea that like in like people can fill different roles in kind of like a more back to nature kind of organization of like people living together, right? Like the idea that like you have different sleep cycles depending on your age, and that had something to do with like, you know, keeping everybody safe. Is like, well, old people are up real early, and then like young people are up real late, and that's about making sure that there's like time coverage of everybody kind of keeping an eye out kind of stuff. And I don't know, I think there's kind of something to that of like if you have a group of people living together and they're all working communally, there are like biological impulses to kind of try and like keep everybody together alive. I don't know how true it is, but I think it's interesting.
It makes sense. It tracks. I mean, even within one age bracket, there are night owls and early birds.
We're a social animal. We're supposed to live among each other, you know?
We fucked up.
Yeah, sucks, doesn't it?
Tweeting at each other instead.
So, do you think we got there, Olivia?
Yeah, I think so. I feel good about that interpretation.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Thank you for listening to The Young and the Restless.
You can follow us on Instagram at thejungandtherestlesspod and submit your dreams for interpretation to thejungandtherestlesspod at gmail.
And as we always say,
who, what, when, where, and bye.
Pick you a tiger.